Hello everybody, good evening. I'm honoured to be up here speaking to you today, and thank you to Shay and the team for being brilliant every Monday once a month. It's an awesome event. As everyone's been a little bit rowdy in the drink break, I think it'd be great just to ground ourselves into being here. So if it's not too difficult, we've got the garlic bread going around. If you can all just stand up, and we're going to do a deep breath and shake out anything that's been going on for you today. Because we store a lot of emotions in our physical body. So let's in through the nose, out through the mouth, and shake. Fantastic. You can now sit down. So I'm Sophie Trew. I'm a health activist and a founder of potentially one of the most bizarre festivals in the world. It's a festival of taboos. It's the world's first cancer awareness and holistic health event. And the aim is to start a change conversation, an empowered conversation around cancer and greater health. I'm a trained journalist and recovering from blood cancer, as Shay said, and that leads to asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of research. I'm passionate about change and empowerment in the disease space, and really changing the narrative that we have to one that's inspirational rather than really heavy and fear-mongering. First of all, who here feels a little bit awkward talking about cancer and disease and finds it a bit funny? Okay, so it's breaking down these barriers that we really have and the descriptions that we have, particularly of cancer, the big C. So, a little bit about my story. So in recovery the past 3 years, so I was diagnosed at 23 and I've spent the past 3.5 years since chemotherapy travelling around the world, visiting different countries to see the way that they treat disease. Because in the UK we have some of the worst cancer survival rates in Europe. Every 2 minutes someone is diagnosed with cancer, and there's a lot we need to be talking about because there's a lot more we can be doing with education, open minds and open conversations between both sides of the health debate. Today I'm going to share 3 of the biggest gifts that I got as a result of cancer. And using the word gifts and cancer in the same sentence may sound a little bit crazy, but personally I wouldn't take back my diagnosis. Because of cancer I've had some of the most enriching and fascinating experiences of my life, and I've met incredible people that I'm humbled to know. It has been a brutally powerful teacher and a blessing at that. So I was 23, I'd just come back from Colombia, and Mum, she told me to come and see a chiropractor with her. So I'm one of 5, we very rarely get the opportunity to go anywhere by ourselves. And as fate would have it, I went to see this chiropractor. She's a physiotherapist and she was learning a new massage technique and I was being the body. And he said, there's something wrong with your breathing. And at that point I was asthmatic. I've been asthmatic since the age of 11 up to 23. And so I didn't think anything of it. I've now healed from asthma. I truly believe if we give our bodies the right tools, we can heal from a lot of things by getting back into balance. And so the next day he was doing all these clicks and twists and this lump started to grow on my neck. So I said, you've got to get on the phone to him, I can't believe he's done this. Slightly pissed off about it in that kind of state. And over the course of the next 2 weeks this lump grew to the size of a lemon, and when I was diagnosed it was the size of an orange. And I was just about to move to London, start work, just getting my shit together as a young adult, if we ever have our shit together, that is. And obviously no one thought it could be cancer. I didn't even know what cancer was. It was the first time I'd ever really come across it. So I go to the doctor, and because I've been in Colombia, they thought it was tuberculosis. So back and forth. I was going to go in and get my tuberculosis drugs, and the doctor said to me, you're too young, we're 99% sure it's not cancer. Come back in and we'll sort you out. Cut a long story short, you guys know what happened. The 1% came to reality, and I walk into the doctor's office and he said, actually we're going to go next door to the round table with the box of tissues on it, bring your parents in, and I get delivered the diagnosis. I was treated on a teenage young adult ward. And it was probably the most bizarre situation, because a bit like going to a new school, you get shown around the ward and introduced to all the people, and seeing all these bald, sick, dying people was a very terrifying affair. But the strange thing in life is that our biggest fears, once we step into them, can become our comfort zone. And the place I feared the most was actually became my safety net, and finishing treatment was one of the hardest things, as the social anxiety kicks in and readjusting back to life is a challenge. Gift. I had 6 months of chemotherapy, but we'll cut all of that out. But I remember looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself, because it kind of strips away your full identity. I had no hair, and you start to rebuild, and it's like, how can we rebuild from the rock bottom? So it's been a fascinating adventure since then. And gift number 1 is the fact that cancer made me realise I had a body. The mind-body connection is so powerful. We can run around and we can live in our heads, and a lot of us are doing it. You look around the city and everyone's going around in sympathetic mode. So on my research around the different countries, in Germany, one of the doctors there in an oncology clinic, he said one of the leading factors that a lot of people who get cancer have in common is an inability to switch on their parasympathetic nervous system. Now, hopefully some of you do this before going to bed. You probably definitely don't do it in the morning, because we wake up and something called headfuck FM kicks in. Now, headfuck FM is this thing that we all have our own unique DJs. So we might have DJ anxiety, we might have DJ fear, and anytime you have some downtime in the day, your DJ is gonna kick in. I said this to someone earlier and they sent me a message back saying, I've just Googled headfuck FM, but I can't find it. It goes over the top of a lot of people's heads. So cancer forced me to stop living in my head. Now, there are many incredible things that we can do to reconnect with our bodies. Finding your thing, checking in. If ever you have any moments that you get an illness, you get a cold, you get a flu, just take time to check in and ask yourself, how have I forgotten to self-care? How have I let myself go? Because when we're so busy, the fundamental things go out the window, your nutrition, your sleep. And actually, as I know too well, and a lot of my friends who are no longer here know too well, health is the most important thing that we have. So I was racing around in my head, and now I'm jumping. So in Chinese medicine, every organ has a different emotional room. I don't know if anyone knows about this, but it's fascinating to look at. So our organs, for example, our liver is associated with anger, our lungs grief, and our kidneys fear. And I had to ask myself, why this disease in this body at this time? What is happening? What's going on that I've become so disconnected? So when I was diagnosed, I had the lump here, 2 on my chest. I actually nicknamed the lump here Bertha. So Bertha had 2 sisters and 1 down here. And I had a habit of suppressing my emotions and not speaking my truth. And I didn't know how to access my voice with vulnerability and expression. So this was a powerful lesson. One night during meditation, I felt like I was being strangled around my throat chakra 3 months into chemotherapy. And it was this scream out. I started meditating during treatment, and it was this scream out of, thank God you finally listened to me from my body. And I found out a week later I had a clear scan, and everything had gone 3 months in. Epigenetics. Who here knows about epigenetics? Fantastic. So epigenetics is the fact that our postcode matters more than our genetic code. The way we think, the way we eat, the way we move, the way we live affects our genetics more than our genetic code. So if there's any hope in this, you are not the victim of your genes. 80% of what's seen in the doctor's office is lifestyle related, say a lot of doctors in the integrative field. So there's a lot of power that we can take back and a lot of things within our control, which is exciting, I think. So what are your symptoms trying to tell you? In my Tequila days, I was living the life of drink, drugs, cheesy chips every single night. Actually, one night I had 3 cheesy chips within the space of a night out, the after party, before and during, and it was pretty reckless. And I was just kind of, everything that I was seeking in the days of tequila actually came about when I started drinking spirulina. So gift number 2, everyone drinks spirulina. Gift number 2 is the power of post-traumatic growth. So cancer taught me about post-traumatic growth. And this is a space that I'm fascinated by, and a space that I'm stepping into coaching in, because majority of young adults, and probably older, but this is the area I've looked at, they suffer with PTSD after going through chemotherapy and cancer treatment, because the anxiety afterwards is immense. And I truly believe that there is no event in our life that isn't calling us to step up to the highest, most noble version of ourselves. Each day we're all delivered our own walking laxatives. These laxatives are there to make you drop whatever needs to go, and it's working on our emotional plumbing. So we have our physical plumbing, which is about what we eat and how we do everything, but our emotional plumbing, people are going to come to you. You're going to have shocks and surprises throughout the day, and that's calling you to get back to yourself and get back on your path. All of the shocks that we have are actually awakening us if we pay attention to them. So over the next week, I'd love you to pay attention to these shocks and see what comes as a result of them. And gift number 3, just very quickly, is very recent, is cancer has taught me authenticity and expression. 2 weeks into chemo, I lost my first friend on the ward, and from them I built up this self-protection that I thought was supporting me, and at the time it definitely was, but it meant that I didn't express any of my emotions. I numbed them out. I was taking sleeping pills every day, and I had to take sedatives before even going on the ward, because if I smelt the hospital or anything, I would be sick. And recently I realised on a course, someone said to me, "Can you hear the rage in your voice and how detached you are?" And I realised this huge element of expression that I hadn't released, and all of the stuff I kept pent up. And now I can, since releasing everything through shaking, because we hold a lot of our emotions in our physical body, so doing a lot of physical therapies I've released. I hear music differently, and so many things have changed. Sorry, Shay, can I finish very quickly? I'm just going to read very quickly. Joe, actually, you touched on it, about the fact that when we lean away from the uncomfortable, we also, by leaning in and checking in with the voices and checking in with everything that happens, it can actually start to dissolve in time, and it's breathing into that. And it's the fact that if we really numb the dark, and we numb and just numb out on all the experiences that we have in life, whether that's through drink, through drugs, through not being able to be alone or not being able to be intimate, which is what I risked, through not being able to express myself, I could detach and risk the intimacy in the connection. But when we numb the dark, we also numb the light, and joy and sorrow come hand in hand, and they're both the beautiful blessings of life. I've definitely missed a chunk, but I also want to say one more thing, which is, if you do ever get a diagnosis, believe the diagnosis so you can do something about it, but don't believe the prognosis, because there's a lot of power and there are a lot of incredible people out there doing wonderful things, and many of them are coming to the festival, so come to that. Thank you all so much, and enjoy your evening, and thank you for listening.